This is video 12 for chapter 10, part 1, muscle contraction. So we're going to revisit the neuromuscular junction. So at the neuromuscular junction, the axon of a motor or neuron enters the muscle and branches out its presynaptic terminals. So we have multiple synapses along the muscle. So at each one of these synapses, this excitation contraction coupling takes place. And we end up with something called the motor end plate. This is a groove in the sarcolemma, so that's crossed out there, in which the presynaptic terminal of the axon lies in the muscle. So basically, it's just like a little indentation in the sarcolemma, and this area where we have the synapse and where we have all of the concentration of those gated sodium channels in the sarcolemma is called the motor end plate. So on our diagram on the next page, which should look very familiar, because I said we would see it again, here is where we have this motor end plate. So that's what this postsynaptic membrane here. So this little groove right here is the motor end plate. So you can see it forms this little indentation. So we're going to go through this, but a little bit more in depth, especially here. So we've covered this a lot up here, but we're just going to go ahead and summarize that again. So these are numbered through number 9. So number 1, the action potential as it's coming down the axon reaches the presynaptic terminal. So the AP causes Ca+2 channels in the presynaptic terminal. To open, and calcium diffuses into the cell. So you'll notice that calcium is going to be involved both in the nervous system and in the muscular system. So now maybe you can see why calcium is so important to our body and why we store it in our, one of the reasons why we store it in our bones, helps make bones strong, but it's also used for our muscles to contract and for our synapses to function. So that's why it's more important for our heart to beat and for our muscles to move than our bones to be really, really strong. So if we do not get enough calcium in our diet, we take it out of our bones. Number 2, the calcium binds to synaptic vesicles and causes them to move toward the neuron plasma membrane. So number 3, we have exocytosis of the neurotransmitters. And that is going to be acetylcholine. So ACH. Since this is a neuromuscular junction, this is the neurotransmitter. So the ACH binds to a receptor on the ligand-gated sodium channels on the sarcolemma. So the sodium enters the sarcoplasm. If enough Na plus enters, an action potential is generated on the sarcolemma. And then we go through that whole contraction phase. So you can see that an action potential is going to travel in both directions from here. So it spreads along the muscle. And that in turn is going to cause the whole process. And we'll look at that in our next video. So if we start looking here, number 6, ACH is released from the Na plus channel. And then we have an enzyme, acetylcholinesterase. Breaks the acetylcholine into acetic acid and choline. So over here in number 8, this right here is a symport. So before we get to that, I forgot one little thing. Acetic acid diffuses away. So it's in the ECF, and it's going to be broken down. But number 8, choline, is symported along with Na plus back into the presynaptic terminal. And then with number 9, choline binds to acetic acid in the cytoplasm to reform ACH, which is then going to be bound up into those vesicles again. So it forms this whole big cycle that happens just like that.